All right, guys, hello. Sorry I am late, but kind of doing a little bit of redecorating here in the store. So sorry for the rough look here. Okay, and because of that, and I was rushing to get ready, let's see, this Wednesday we have Viking Club with Matt and Amanda. And then I've got, that's really the only thing I can think of at the moment. If I think of things as I'm going on, I will let you know. And then, so today's project is our September count on it applique project here. Okay, so, and I do have a kit for them. They are $8.50 for the fabrics and your applique and stuff. I am using Steam-A-Seam 2 Light on the back of all my applique pieces, and then I did back my base piece here which is our background fabric and our borders with the new Baby Lock fabric fuse. So I am testing that out. This will be my first go at it here on live today, so we'll see how it goes. It feels very nice on the back of my fabric. So okay, so our first piece that we're going to put down is actually our stem, and it does go through, it is extremely large, and it gets placed behind our entire apple piece. So I am going to peel the paper layer away. Hopefully. And then I will stick it to my background fabric. Man, this piece is so small. There we go. Okay, so I am going to turn you guys around so you guys aren't looking at me anymore. Nobody wants to do that. Okay, so I have my square here, and yes, Linda, exactly. Sometimes easier said than done. So on this piece, there is a skinnier top and a kind of more angular bottom, and that I kind of just put here in the corner of my background piece and kind of lined up that flat edge, and then just let this, because it's kind of squiggly, and then let the top, and it does extend up into the border right here. Okay, oh shish kebab, can you please get me a pressing pad and an iron? Por favor. Yeah, a little iron's just fine.
On the floor. Keep walking. On the floor.
We're going to be playing this game of Where Did Everything Go in this store for quite a while. Like I said, we did a little bit of a remodel, not really remodeling, but definitely moved around almost everything that sits on the floor in this store. With Matt's awesome help. Would not have been able to do it without him.
Yeah, need to write a map. Have a map for people for a demo.
I know, right? Okay, and so for my sample, I did just use a blanket stitch for the stem here. Nope, that is perfect. Thank you. Yes, right here is just fine. Thank you. Okay, so while we're getting the iron plugged in, I'm going to change the stitch on the machine to the Q14 stitch. So that's in our quilting menu, stitch number 14 for the blanket. And then I'm going to change it to 3 in width and 3 in length. And I just got threaded, so that's fantastic. And I'm just gonna wait here for a second for the iron to heat up, and that's going to fuse my, because I'm using the Steam Esteem 2 light, it's gonna fuse my applique piece to my background fabric, okay? So, let's see, while we are waiting, I do know that we are ready for signups. We are going to host on October 25th a watch party that is going to be hosted by
Sandra Shaw.
I was gonna say, but is it Baby Lock that's hosting it for Sandra Shaw?
I believe Baby Lock's doing it in conjunction with her.
Okay, yeah, and so if you were part of the Radiance live stream that happened back in July, Sandra Shaw did come on and talked about her Radiance girls. And so this watch party is going to be learning the technique of how to create that. So it is ready to sign up online. I do believe there is no fee associated with it. And I do know each store is going to host a live stream. So make sure you sign up for the appropriate store. So that way we know to expect you and all of those, you know, our normals, chairs and food and you know, all of that. And I'm sure giveaways, because it wouldn't be an above and beyond party without giveaways. And so do make sure that you do that online, or you can call the store and we'd be happy to sign you up as well. And then, yeah, aside from that and Viking Club on Wednesday, I really can't think of anything else going on. Can you, Matt? Nope, he's shaking his head no. So, well, product launch, yep, so that is next week. A week from tomorrow, we'll be hosted in the Thornton store at 10 a.m. And again, make sure you sign up for that. That will definitely get you into the drawing for the giveaways. And then we will have it on Facebook Live / comment sold on Wednesday. So that'll be the 17th at our 2 o'clock time. And then here in the Littleton store on Thursday at 10 a.m. in time for our normal like show and tell demo. Okay, so let's see here. Are we pretty much heated up? I think we are. So I'm going to take this. I'm just going to put it underneath my iron here and fuse it to my fabric so nothing swirly happens while I'm stitching. Okay. And then I'm just going to use the blanket stitch to go around this piece. Now, what I could do is I could kind of figure out where the apple is going to kind of hit my stem, because I mean, this whole section right here, the stem is under here. I don't necessarily have to stitch that part. Because of it being covered. So you can make that decision if you so choose. All right, so I'm lining it up where I think it's gonna be. I'm gonna drop my needle to double check, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start stitching. And again, I kind of rushed to get onto live today, so if I had thought about it, I probably would have put the open toe foot on so I can see a little bit better in my stitch. But I have the J foot on right now, and it's definitely doable with these stitches. But the open toe foot definitely gives you the visibility because nothing is blocking the middle of the foot, and you can better see where your stitches are going. Okay, I'm ready to pivot. Oops. guys can kind of see what I'm doing. Not really, though. And today I am on the Baby Lock Anthem. I am loving this machine. Definitely loved being able to play with it when I was at Baby Lock Convention. Played with the stitch regulator, played with the tapering functions. Those were both really fun, though I will say I don't think free motion is quite my jam. Okay, so I did the blanket stitch around my stem here. You guys can see that. Okay, so now I'm ready to place my apple piece, which is of course going to be the one piece that I did not get cut out just yet. So I traced my apple from the page from our book. Okay, so that's what this looks like. And then I cut it out from my steam-a-seam, left myself a little bit of a buffer, and then fused it to the back of my applique fabric. So then I'm going to now take my scissors and cut on my actual shape line so that I get some really nice clean edges for when we go to fuse and then stitch it down. Okay. I'm sorry, I know you guys can't see what I'm doing, but I have a very small area of you guys being able to sit with the stand and the phone. Okay, so now I've traced my actual shape here. Okay, and then I'm going to peel, and I'll try to just tear an edge here, see if that works. Okay, so I did just kind of go like a little tearing motion and was able to start the paper to start peeling it off. If that does not work for you, you can take a pin and kind of score it and then peel as well. So whichever works for you. Sometimes when you tear it, and kind of like how I did here, it does fray your edges a little bit. So if you're not going to have a very like dense stitch or something like that, you know, and you don't want to have those frayed edges, which I don't blame you, you might want to do the scoring technique and starting peeling your paper away that way. All right, so now this is pulling off very nicely. So the thing that I love about this steam-a-seam is that as I peel this away, it is leaving a sticky layer on my fabric. So this is tacky, and then I can place it and kind of test if I need to, like audition where I'm putting my applique pieces. So I can still reposition until I put it underneath the iron, and then it's fused and officially stuck in place. So I do like that I have that option. I like that a lot, actually. Okay, so just peeling and peeling. This is quite a big piece here. And I am trying to make sure I'm only peeling the paper, because there might be some spots to where the actual product stays on the paper, so I just have to be careful it doesn't take all of it off. There's one. one little stubborn spot right there. Okay, and then sorry, still peeling. This is a really big applique piece. I don't have any nails to kind of get it started. I might need to score it with the pin again. There we go. That was a big chunk. There we go, finally. Jeez Louise. Okay, so then, again, I'm going to just place my apple piece up here. And I'm trying to make it so that the stem kind of comes out of the center of my apple, but I don't necessarily want the apple to come too far into my border here either. And then I sew it when I put the backing on. So I'm gonna kind of place it like that. It does come out off the side over here. And then once I've got it where I like it, I'm going to use the iron to adhere it in place. Okay. And then I'm going to change my thread to a red. Not going to blanket stitch that down with brown. That'd be weird. Okay, so then I'm going to, and I did just do a blanket stitch around the apple as well. Wanted to keep it kind of simple for this piece, so leaving the measurements of the blanket stitch the same. Okay, and then I'm just going to go around the apple. Drop my needle, make sure I'm in the right position. The apple is nice because it doesn't have necessarily any like corners or anything like that, so I just kind of keep going around these little, the bottoms where they're just like little rounded corners, sort of. No pivoting needed. So again, I am using that the new Baby Lock fabric fuse on the back, and it is actually doing quite well. I do really like how it feels. Definitely feels nice and stabilized. Like I'm not gonna have any like puckering or anything like that. So I think I'm gonna like it. All right, so coming around this last curve. All right. Okay, and then, so looking at the picture of this one on the Count On It book, they do show it like red and red for this like spiral in here, but I was like, that would have been cool if somebody was like peeling the apple so you see the apple core. So that's where my mind went with this. That's why it's white. Okay, so I am going to start peeling this, which is another easier said than done just because it is a skinny piece here. And these are always the ones that I have the biggest trouble with. All right, so just peeling my paper. Trying not to fray any of the edges of my applique fabric as I'm going along. Oops, I didn't realize I didn't start at the edge. Okay, and then this one's kind of funky because it is a spiral, so it does have a straight point at one spot. So I have that I'm going to line up with the edge of my apple here, and then just gonna kind of re-spiral the fabric back down because the skinny little tail is what is the middle. Okay, so that is what it looks like there. I like its position where it's at, so I'm gonna go take this to my iron and fuse it in place. So because this piece of fabric is kind of on the skinnier side, I mean, it's not as skinny as the stem, but with that and all of the curves and stuff, I did just decide to do a straight stitch close to the edge of my applique piece. So that is what I'm going to do again on this sample. Okay, so let me put my white fabric or my white thread back on. Okay, I'm going to go back to a straight stitch, and at this point you can decide, and it's kind of backwards, but I left my needle kind of in the left needle position as opposed, no I didn't, now it's in the left needle position, and I know it's totally backwards, but I kind of followed the edge of the fabric here, and I'll take the foot off and I'll show you, with the inside of the metal, the left metal leg, and that was kind of how I just went around the whole thing. So I know I'm using the opposite side of the foot here that you're not really supposed to use, but that's okay. It's what worked best for me. So just going around Kind of feel like Dorothy and following the yellow brick road here. Except for it's not yellow. And yep, now I have that stuck in my head. All right, so just kind of taking this one a little bit slower. It is a continuous curve, obviously, so as I get towards the center, I'm gonna do a little bit more stopping and pivoting to realign myself. And then when I got to this point, I didn't go all the way down to the tip because otherwise I'd have too much stitching back on itself. So kind of went as far as I could without doing that. And then it pivoted and came back up our curve. Okay, and then back to where I started. All right, so that is our little spiral in our apple here. Then we have leaves for our apple. Okay, so we've got two. We have a small one and a larger one. So I've got the small one on the left, larger one on the right. And that will go a little bit more into our border here on the large one. So let's peel those, stick them down, fuse them. All right, so, and I have the little cutout openings closer to the stem. And we can even overlap this just a little bit. I think that would be cute. And then do our small piece. Okay, and then have this one come out. So we'll just overlap the stems a little bit on this one. I think that's cute. Okay, and then I'm going to fuse these down. I kind of kept the stitching on this one just a little bit more simple. I think I did blanket stitch on just about everything. So we're going to go back to a blanket stitch because I know I just stopped on the, it would be a super cute gift for a teacher. I agree, Val. Okay, so I'm going to change my thread to this green. And then I'm going to change back to the blanket stitch and change back to the 3 and 3 for length and width. Okay, and then we're going to go around these guys. Had some white thread stuck in the foot. Okay. All right, let's double check our position here. We're good. So just going really slow around those really small little rounded pieces, making sure I double check where I am in the sequence of the blanket stitch to know that, like, as I turn and pivot, then I'm not going to get some random piece hanging off in the middle of nowhere. That makes no sense. So, and I will say that this sequence for this stitch is nice, but definitely make sure that you test out what your sequence is, because even from this machine to the Bernina that I stitch on quite a bit, they don't have the same. This one goes back on itself when it does the straight stitch part, and the Bernina does not. So definitely learned that one out the hard way, thinking that they all did the same, and nope, they don't. I think I could go one more. I love straightaways. It means I can go fast. And then, so again, this does kind of come to a 90-degree angle, so I will definitely have to pay attention to where I'm at in the sequence here to make the pivot work. All right, so that's our big leaf. Okay, then we're gonna come down here to our small one. And even on points like this, where it's not super like sharp in a point right here, I'll still double check where I'm at in the sequence of the stitch to make sure, because it is a pretty good pivoting point still. So this one's actually pretty quick to put together. It wasn't too bad. Not as many little pieces. come back up this way. All right, so those are the leaves, and basically our apple is done. So now we're going to put in the September letters here. Okay, I did choose to have mine kind of overlap quite a bit, which was fun. So I do need to make sure I stitch these one at a time. Okay, so just peeling the paper off of the S. We're going to start with that one. And then
yeah, they're on the price sheet, but I need to get physical tags for them to put them out. Well,
all right, and then these little pieces, especially on this S, are so thin and skinny. So I'm peeling very slowly. Don't want to fray my fabric by pulling it too much. Okay, it's kind of funny seeing it when you peel it, because then you're like, oh, that's an S. And then I have to figure out which curve is the top and which curve is the bottom. I think this is the top. Okay, so we're kind of in this realm of area here. Still frayed just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm gonna kind of just look to make sure that that's high up enough. So I put my E, and then I put my P over here, and then the T kind of went like that. I think that works. Or if I don't want my T to be down here on the bottom, I can raise my S a little bit. Bring that up. And then that way the T can also float in on the background fabric as well. So let's try that. Put the E up here, the P over here, and then have the T kind of there. I think I like that. Okay, so yeah, raising up the S was a good way to go. I'm going to fuse that down now that I like its position. And because this one has such skinny little passes, I did just do a straight stitch on this one also. I'm not going to I am just doing a center needle in this one though, because if I follow the inside leg like I did on the white, I will definitely not even stitch on my red. So I'm just going to follow. I'm going to put my red thread back on. Let's not do green. And I'm just going to kind of follow the edge of the fabric. Do kind of as best as I can here. All right. And then this is one of those sections where it's really skinny, so I'm just going to go back over my previous stitching until it becomes wider. Not trying to get two different stitch lines in there. It's just too skinny of an area. And again, doing the same thing up here. Alrighty, so there is our S. Then we're going to take our E. Peel this guy. Okay, stick him down, and I did cover up a little bit of the S. Well, that's kind of crooked. Let's uncrooked that. Okay, and I did kind of more or less justify that along the border here. So I like where it's at. Let's fuse it. Then we're going to change our thread to yellow. And then just to kind of make the letters kind of look the same, I'm just gonna do the same thing and use a straight stitch. Okay, so actually doing it with the straight stitch kind of reminds me of like doing block letters and like tracing them and all that stuff when I was in school. Alrighty, so now the E is done. Okay, so we're gonna do our P here. Right, kind of put this over the E a little bit, maybe even over our apple. Okay, so we're gonna fuse that, change to a different green than we used before. This one's a nice bright green. All right, we got it fused down. Go around this guy, and then we just have one left. All right, then we'll go around our little inner circle part here. All right. Peel this one. I gotta be careful with this because it goes in 3 different directions. I'll place this one down. I did also kind of left justify the T and made sure I brought it up enough so that it floated just about the same amount as the S does at the top. Okay, let me fuse our T in place. Okay.
I don't know how long it takes to actually process, but yep, I can do it right now.
And then we will come down and finish this up. And as much as I would like to be perfect at all of these stitching, I think I kind of like that, especially on the lettering, that it's not, because it almost looks like a kid did it, even though I'm definitely not a little kid. And so it kind of gives it a cuter little classroom aspect, I guess. So if it's not perfect, it is okay. All right, and there we have it. Okay, so here is our September. Cute little count on it. For the backing, you would just want to put the backing a large piece, right sides together, do 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then leaving an opening and turn, and then close up and top stitch if you want to, and you would be all done. Okay, and then of course you got lots of little hairs here to trim, but thanks you guys. I know, I love it. I think it has turned out super cute. Super cute. All right, you guys, I will see you again tomorrow because it's Tuesday, and we will be working on our Riley Blake tabletoppers, the tabletop banners. So we will work on that. I think it's our turkey one tomorrow. So, all right, we'll see you then. Thanks. Bye-bye.